Good enough. Hey guys, it's Turok, and the reflections are in my eye again. Probably. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Chapter 1083. Thankfully, it came out when I have some free time. Well, I got almost free. Anyways, I just realized I put up 1082 the other day without putting up 1081's video, which hopefully I recorded right. I was trying to stream that one, I think, a few weeks ago. And I know the streaming didn't turn out too well, so we'll see how that goes, if I can put that one up still. So, let's see, the last chapter, we actually are continuing a bit with what happened with Sabo here. So, 1082 ended with Sabo meeting Dragon, returning from Lulusia. So after I gotta check that timeline again a little bit. After at Reverie, Sabo and the other captains here, what are their names again? I have them. Was Betty there? In this chapter, we see that we get a flashback today of the hey, where are there? Oh, let me see. Here we go. Maybe commanders. There they are again. Yeah, Betty, Morley, Lindbergh, and Karasu. Oops. The last chapter we did a few scenes. We had Sengoku and what's her name, Suru, finding out that Garp took a contingent of allied Marines allied with him to allies in his cause to save Kobe had left, and including Suru's granddaughter, which I'm sure the whole fair is pissing them both off, freaking them out now because they don't want see a war with an emperor start right now, which is funny too because actually funny thing there I just realized both Garp and Lavlucci, while having different opinions of justice and the government and stuff, both now have stirred up events which could technically start wars with emperors. Although, since Lucci's doing it against attacking Luffy, it's not going to really be a war in the same idea that Luffy's going to retaliate against the government. But Garp's actions against Blackbeard certainly could cause some kind of backlash, I'm sure. So, excuse me. So the last chapter also had we saw Buggy rally up his pirates crew that are probably going to force the hand of Crocodile and Mihawk to have to go after the One Piece, which is not what they want to do. It sounds like they're following through with what is essentially I think Crocodile's plan to create their own he called the chapter called it a military state. Actually, do I have the official translation here too? Because I was reading the 1082, or it did come up. Let me go check that quickly here. If I can make it load. Come on. So anyways, Crocodile's plan, which I think was the same thing he was going to do in Alabasta a couple years ago, the one he had been planning for a long time. It looks like he's following through with that now, and he's got Mihawk on his side, and he has he's using Buggy's resources to help him. Where is this now? Here we go. Yeah, military nation, state, nation. Sometimes I don't think some people realize when you say that the state, it can refer to the overall government, almost like a federal government. Crocodile wants to create a nation to probably like his own. And it's funny, I think I said this in the last chapter as well, review, that he wants to, sounds very similar to Blackbeard. And it's funny too because they got Buggy on their side, and now he has the appearance of an emperor. So now it's like we got two different emperors that have their own. Well, these guys will, if the plan succeeds, to have their own nation, island. I guess you could say an island nation that will be free of the government, just like Blackbeard's got Full Island, and he's because he's an emperor, the government tries not to start any fights with them. Which, once again, too, I would like to reiterate, is very odd given the manpower the government has, that they haven't tried to take out any of these emperors individually, since, with the exception just now of Big Mom and Kaido's alliance, short as it was, they all hate each other and could probably be picked off one by one. I think. I know it'd be considerable loss of their standard soldiers. Hundreds of thousands of their soldiers would die, but I'm a little. I just trying to imagine the matchups of the admirals before and now against Kaido and his subordinates, or Big Mom and their subordinates, and it's just, from what I could see, they're only really this is making me like, power scaling, I guess. I don't think any of the other subordinates of Kaido or Big Mom could stand up to, like, the admirals, at least. So the admirals fighting, like, ganging up on either Big Mom or Kaido, I think could have resulted in them taking the admirals taking either emperor out, and maybe the vice admirals would be the ones to be able to hold off, like King or Katakuri and Smoothie or Queen and all that stuff. So, anyways, my speculation on that is that their Gorosei or Im kind of enjoy the chaos in some ways caused by these pirates, at least for the short term, because it does sound like they're up to something now, with some kind of cleansing or something they talked about when they went. We saw them meet Im at the throne during Reverie. Anyways, yeah, Crocodile and Mihawk didn't want to bother fighting the other emperors. They just wanted to form this nation, maybe a pirate nation, I guess. And we last ended the chapter with Sabo and a ship of Lulusians, or one of their ships that he had. So that's the thing too. I was gonna say earlier. How did he end up on Lulusia from Reverie when they all split up and left the after they went there to do their guerrilla attack onto Rijwa, and we're gonna learn more about what they tried to accomplish here. But yeah. So pretty much this whole chapter is a flashback of that event. So we start off today with an interesting piece of fan art, or not fan art, fan request art that Oda does, and we see Doflamingo helping a baby chick, of all things. He's sitting by a tree and he's taking off his coat, that cloak, feathery cloak thing he wears, and he has it on the ground and he's feeding a little bird. Yeah, like a bandage. Oh, he's got a bandage. The little bird's got a bump on his head and he's gonna put a bandage on it. If this was anyone but Doflamingo, I would think this is really cute. It's just kind of interesting that, given all his how cold-blooded he is, he would help a little animal. So we start out the chapter today with we're back at the Kamubaka Kingdom, and we see a lot of the other, I'm guessing, revolutionary armies milling about outside. Maybe they're chatting, having tea, and we see who's there too. That one captain we can see for sure. None of the other ones literally look that familiar, but excuse me. Sabo continues where he left off, and this is where he talks about what their objectives were when they went there. So the first thing was to officially declare war on the celestial dragons. So they've clearly now built up him, and I guess Dragon must have made this decision too, like an executive decision to start this. That they must be feeling confident enough, or they know enough about the world government now to attack. So this plan was partially to do that. So they went to declare war, and they did so by they did it the same way Luffy did. Essentially, they destroyed their main their symbol. They have some large form of this thing, the dragon stamp looking thing on the above a building. It looks like, and they destroyed that to declare war, and then they were there to try to rescue Kuma, and lastly, they wanted to free as many of the slaves that are there as possible. Damn these glasses. And so, and the fourth thing they wanted to do was the Holy Land there has their own stockpile of food, so they must they probably get stuff imported into there every so often, and the they wanted to destroy that and make a statement with that by making them. I think what they're trying to point out here too is they're trying to show to the world that the Holy Land isn't as invulnerable as it would seem. So then we continue with Dragon talking about so we go on here to Dragon pointing out while that was happening, they had triggered a total of eight, not eight, because we heard about eight other. We heard earlier about 8 successful uprisings, and how Lelucia was one of them, and we saw what happened with them. But they had caused 4 other ones, so a total of 12 uprisings in other nations. To that must have been so. That must have been the So how about? Wonder how that happens. Did that mean the other the captains had traveled to each of these islands to start this up together, like simultaneously? They went island hopping of sorts. Yeah, I bet that's what they were doing. Probably to make a large, once again, make a statement to the world government. Let's see. So going to point out something. So something interesting here too. The Dragon talks about how the papers did not report. I think I'm understanding this right. Nothing about what happened with those uprisings either, or what happened at Marijwa. Wait, did they? Did they block all? Is that what he means? Because didn't they report something about that? No, they must. They report about Sabo killing Cobra, which we'll learn more here too. But they must. I think what he's talking about is all that those uprisings have been not publicly noted to through. So this is interesting too, because Big News Morgan was talking about how he likes to show off, talk about whatever he basically wants, but takes payment from the government. So it looks like in this case he must have listened to the government in the case of not in the case of what do you call it? What was I saying? Oh yeah, Big News Morgan. It's funny that he would decide this is something that he's okay with censoring the news of the how do I put this? So Morgan was okay with talking about how Luffy probably has kidnapped Vegapunk, and he probably embellished. I'm trying to think what the headline was when they talked about Sabo assassinating Cobra, but so he likes putting up that kind of stuff. But he toes the line with the government when it comes to censoring information about these rebellions. So it's just a little odd to watch. Well, see, interesting at the same time to see what Morgan is willing to comply with the government. So so it looks like Stu was partially. So Ivankov here goes on to explain like the part of the thing what they're doing with the food, destroying the food reserves, is they're trying to make the Mariejois suffer a bit by not having enough food there at their beck and call, so that they can experience a bit of the poverty and hunger that other peoples have to deal with, and by doing partially doing that too by making sure that other supply lines heading to Mariejois are cut off. And yeah, then he mentions too, like I said, how they have the perception of being an impenetrable fortress, but they're trying to break that. So now they point out though. So yeah, Ivankov's really celebrating this move. He thinks it's great they've rallied. He looks like he's been waiting for a while to see a good victory against the world government this way. But now we learned something else and interesting here about. Well, no, we saw about these before, didn't we? Yeah, didn't we? So Dragon points out that because of this, the world government is planning on mobilizing their God's Knights, they call them. And I believe we did get to mention these before by was it one of the admirals? Was it Sengoku? No, not Sengoku. Was it Akainu? They were talking about. This went back to when I think this went back to when Cobra was killed, right after this events happened, and they someone was talking about how they were gonna even though they're the Marines and they're just part of what they do is protecting the marine land, the Holy Land. When it came to stuff like this, they had these knights here as a kind of a police force too. It looks like to deal with investigations or something like that. I should try and find that quickly. Yeah, I found it in chapter 1054. There's other Marine officers bringing the news to Akainu and Kizaru about what happened. So yeah, it was 29 chapters ago. Yeah, we first heard mention of the Holy Knights because Kizaru talked about an attempted murder on St. Charles. Was that? Is that the one? Oh, wait a minute. Is that the one? Let me check here. That the little brat? Yeah, him. The one who wanted Shirahoshi as his slave. We'll get more in that minute. But yeah, looks like yeah. And here, Kainu was the one that mentioned the it's the God's Knight's jurisdiction in the Holy Land to mediate disputes. So I'm a little surprised though they weren't. None of them were on hand there at the time to help back up the Admirals. And we find out too CP0 is the other CP0 agents. The other former CP9 agents. We see a brief panel of them in this new chapter. I'm surprised they didn't help as much either. Maybe they were just trying to stay out of the way. But so yeah, these holy. I forgot for a moment that the Holy Knights were mentioned before. It just came to me while I've been doing this recording. So we get only a little glimpse of shadowy silhouette of them next to Dragon's face. Talk about them. The only thing of interest there to me, I noticed is like that one looks like he has a sword with that same guard, that little circular guard that Shanks has. And he even has like a cape on it. It's interesting looking. I wonder if they're trying. I bet some people are speculating right now that could be like a brother to Shanks, which would be very interesting. So, anyways, moving on. Ivankov says to Sabo that once they mobilize those knights, they're gonna probably be then they're gonna come after you first. And he says, "Should I call you the Flame Emperor now?" And his Sabo was like, "Oh, please don't call me by that name. I don't want to be called that." So then we go into a little interesting conversation too about the effect of King Cobra's assassination. And we saw a bit of this at the same time with the 1054. We were just talking about the death of Cobra has actually made these revolutionary activity by some of these other nations and maybe other ones considering it has raised their spirits because they because someone like Cobra and these other nations are part of the world government. They're seen as almost just as bad as Marijwa itself. So, and Dragon here though points out like it's Dragon's one pointing this out, and he points out that it's not always the case. Obviously, that all these different kings who are part of the world government umbrella are bad. When we got like King, is it Riku, Rebecca's grandfather, obviously, who's a good guy as well. And then we got ones like what's his face? I can't think of his name now. The one who was Drum Island's king that's with Viola right now. But and so yeah, and Dragon even points out Cobra is probably like the best among these different kings, as the best leader overall of them, and unfortunately, most people didn't realize that. And Sabo even points out is even though I feel bad for what happened to Cobra, I feel like this is gonna help, and it seems like he's understanding it's gonna probably help too. I should say here. So then we this is where we start jumping to the flashback of the chapter, and and Ivankov starts with he pulls out the paper. Oh, they have an image too, right? So he pulls out the paper and says to Sabo, like, tell us what really happened. Get to that part already. And the image here that has the headline of King Cobra assassinated, was that in 1054? I don't think so. Oh, wait, what's it? And it's oh wait, that other officer before too was a Navy Criminals Affairs Unit Chief. Oh, okay. So the other headline was Viola missing. Yeah, I don't think they showed that before. No, wait. Okay, no. So I'm going back to 1054 when I first learned about the King Cobra's assassination, and that one showed Cobra's a profile picture of Cobra and Sabo side by side, and but now this one in 1083 reveals something different. This looks like Den Mushi, probably on the ceiling of a room in Marijwa, got a picture. Breeze got a picture of King Cobra on the floor. That's right. He was in a wheelchair, right? Because his health is declining. His wheelchair's just out of the frame a little bit. He's dead, lying there dead, and Sabo's body standing over him. Not really over him. He's like faced away, and Cobra's body is kind of sort of behind him. So they're using that now to make it look like they're using the age-old, like, if you're found by the body, you must have done it thing. Like, if you've ever watched any old westerns, like 50s, 60s, etc., they do this too. This is a classic, almost very cliche thing. Just, you're found by the body. Oh, it's your fault. Very playing into assumptions and biases and all that stuff like that. Mm. And Ivankov was like points out too, like, we were hoping you didn't really do this because I think they didn't want to kill Cobra. They wouldn't want to kill Cobra obviously because they probably. I wonder if that means they would have hoped to have someone like Cobra be one of their allies in the future, because if they could break him up with the Marijwa. And so this is a month ago. Okay, so now we jump to the flashback here, where we are looking at a bigger shot of Marijwa. We see part of the castle to the left, and we see in the walls, and beyond that, a lot of explosions. And I forget what the attack was like. So we see here a bunch of Celestial Dragon citizens running from wherever they are in their homes. Oh, okay. This is where they blew up the storehouse at this point. That's right. They blew up the storehouse, and we see Charlos first, and then there's some other ones here. I don't even know if they have all their names. Let me see if I can pull up those names. Celestial Dragons. Let's see. Is there a tab for that? I got my little window here. I'm trying to get all their name. Here we go. There's a bunch of them here. Oh yeah, is that? I don't even know. I recognize some of their faces. Um, so we see him, Charlos. I think this is first saying like, I can't believe these people would do that. First, they destroy they take away our food, and they're destroying our symbol. And he's like questioning, oh, are they that jealous of them? And he's like, I don't care if you have get any like trophies from them, like their heads. Just kill them all. Dispose them at once. And then this other one says, after that, have them executed. Like they're already going to be if they're disposed of, you can't. Never mind. Um, so while this is happening, we see another group panel here of other celestial dragons fleeing the storehouse explosion, and he's running out of. He has this poor old pirate. Um, I'm assuming so because he's got the cap on and stuff. But this pirate's being ridden on and whipped and all this stuff, just like Kuma is. And this guy can't move well, obviously, because he's being mistreated, and he looks like he's quite elderly. Uh, and the pirate slave is unable to move fast enough. And this fucking whatever you want to call this guy, is that guy? His face looks especially familiar. Was he shown before? I feel like I've seen his face, but I can't find his name. He's got these horrible bowl haircut, and he's got these like buck teeth at the top with no others, and it's just his teeth on the bottom are still there. But so he's about to kill this poor pirate because he can't escape, move fast enough, and he's saved by the one captain who's the crow guy. I'm going to pull the names up again. What's his name? Kurosu. Kurosu comes in there. He's sitting on a roof, and he has a crow take that gun from that celestial dragon, and then he has another crow. Another crow goes up to that pirate slave and informs him where to go in order to escape. And while that happens, next thing that happens is some of these other. These look like some of the standard CP Cypherpol type agents. They're all dressed in suits. They're probably like guards here. They start firing at Kurosu, and of course that does nothing to him because his powers. I don't know what it's been. I know it's been debated, but I don't know if it's been like confirmed what his actual if his power falls into like a special Logia or a regular Logia class. But when they're shooting him here, actually it can't be a regular Logia because he's not completely intangible. In this case, the bullets are going through him and leaving little holes, but they don't actually harm him. It looks like. Uh, but so he looks like he's destroyed for a moment. But then he pulls a little sneak attack on them that looks actually kind of reminded me of Blackbeard. When this happened, I thought Blackbeard was there for a moment because it shows these black snaking wisps going by their feet, and he shows up behind them. So at first he was on the roof when he sent that one crow to save the slave, and then they shot at him up there, and now he shot at from up there. He looks like he's like 3-4 stories high, and then he comes up behind them, and he does some kind of spike attack with his powers. The suit fruit. Is that what they call it? Okay. Um, that's a pretty cool attack. He has like spikes all come out of the air and take out that group of agents that were after him. That was a great panel. Damn. Uh, so next we switch over to Limburg. Uh, he's flown up in his little rocket pack somewhere near that. Looks like he's like a mile or so from where the explosion happened, and wait, That's shooting. Wait. How come this panel looks so funny? Oh wait, no. First it shows him. Oh, I missed a bit. So I gotta go down. First it shows him freeing some of the slaves, and he's telling them to where to go. We see a lot of people in various clothings. They're running away, and then he sees the explosion here. So I should pull this up here. Maybe I could do it like this. Hold on. I got a separate tablet here, and I can do the wide shots better. Can I do this? Let's see. I gotta get this. Here we go. So next, when he's so next, what we see after Lindbergh is being informed to get out of here. No, Lindbergh is being told by Karasu to. I think he's trying to form like we got to get going now because the Admirals had shown up. The two we saw that Fujitora and Green Bull are there, and right because they were there. That's right because we saw that they were both there. So this was before Wano, right? So Green Bull showed up at Wano recently, but that was after this. Him and Fujitora were sitting there together eating. I think that was between the Wano between Whole Cake and wherever he started. He saw that he was up there. Fujitora had returned there, even though Akainu told him he can't until he captures the Straw Hats, and he still did it anyways. That's when we at last saw T-Bone, Vice Admiral, or Rear Admiral T-Bone or whatever. Sorry, I don't remember his rank, but yeah, that's right. They were both there when this attack happened. So they roll out, then come to fight, and Karasu is actually now engaging with Fujitora, and he's using some kind. He's trying to send a volley of like crows at Fujitora, and we don't really see much of how that fight turns out there. But I imagine Fujitora is using his gravity to just block those things from actually harming him. He probably can like force them into the ground around him, like a force field, perhaps. And then we see that Green Bull is fighting with the giant captain from the Revolutionary Morley. And if I recall right, I was looking at the episode earlier. Morley's got that ability where he can like force the ground to become like waves. He can make it move. It's not the same as like that guy who can swim through the ground, Senior Pink. This guy can like mold the ground to act like it's not even a Actually, that's interesting. That kind of reminds me of what Luffy does when he's in Gear 5th too. Yeah, who was saying? I was watching someone point out how there's a lot of similarities crossover with certain fruit powers, and I've seen how now Morley's and Luffy's awakening are similar. So this is an interesting matchup too. I was trying to think who else could fight against Green Bull, and it does look like Morley is holding his own here. He's got a trident. I don't remember him having that. He's just like a trident there, and he's stabbed. So Green Bull's in his tree form, and like his big swamp thing looking form almost. I bet when he gets animated in that form, that's what people would think he's like. He's like a giant swamp thing. The DC character. So yeah, he's fighting with he's like got the ground looks all messed up around him. He must be using it looks like Morley's using his fruit to mold the ground up, probably to give himself an advantage from I bet I know what he's doing. He's probably by using his fruit, I bet Morley can keep any kind of vines and stuff from Green Bull from coming up and entangling him. He can keep the ground shifting around so the roots can't come out. And so Green Bull has no choice probably but to go on to a head-on attack with Morley. And since Morley is also a giant, and this guy, and I think Green Bull gets really huge himself, so it looks like they're like head to head, like nearly equal in height, at least from this angle, this shot. and Morley looks like he's having fun with this fight too. But where Lindbergh too, where Karasu looks very serious when he's attacking uh, Fujitora. Morley and Lindbergh look like they're having fun here. Morley goes to say, "Oh, it says to Greenbow, you guys always play rough, don't you?" And Greenbow's like upset with that comment and like, "You're destroying the city. You're making this stuff rough, essentially." Wait, who's this? So, and Greenbow goes on to add on like, just tell me where your leader is, and I'll let you off lightly, kind of thing. And someone calls who? Someone calls someone a little perv. Is Morley doing that? I forget how Morley talked a little differently, if I recall. And I like this scene. This really shows something interesting here. So the admirals are they are like subordinates directly to the uh, it's funny too. So they're like directly under the Celestial Dragon's beck and call. So when Charlos was punched out by Luffy, Kizaru came in right away. It's funny because CP0 listens directly to them, more or less. Like, so when Shirahoshi was getting manhandled by that giant slave Charlos had at Reverie at the same time, a little bit before this flashback, uh, um, no one would do anything, partially because they're afraid to. And then Lucci had stepped in with Kaku at his back, and they were like stopping anything from happening. And then it was that other Celestial Dragon that had to do something because he was the only one with the authority to do it. And uh, we see here that the battle here is having some collateral damage in terms of the other Celestial Dragons that are still here. And one of them yells at Greenbow and says, if any of us actually get hurt, I'll make sure you get hanged for this. You hang for this." And we see this really is frustrating Greenbow because of the situation. And he says like it's impossible to really fight to my full potential here because of this. And he's thinking to himself like, "You bastard dragons, celestial dragons, just get out of here, mate, so I can actually, I can finish this." And we switch back briefly to Fujitora, and I can't tell who's talking to him, but he looks like he's summoning. He says he's summoning a meteor strike, and someone's like, "What? Like, why are you doing that? Don't stop. We're up here. You can't do that." And this is where we see briefly see also the CP9, and like I think we see nearly all the other members we have not seen since like their cover story. Um, they're watching from afar. So we see all of them. We see where are they? We see Bluno. What's her name? Kifla. What's that one with the Fukoru? I can't remember his name. He was the one with the zipper mouth that fought with Frankie, and there's the other one that fought against. I'm not gonna try with his name right now. Kamudori. He fought against Chopper. Oh, so those five. Is that everyone? So that's all the main members. Oh, and the wolf, Jabra. The the other five main ones that were like part of the big fights are right there watching, and they're just commenting. They comment there like uh, with these two admirals here. If this wasn't a battle being held in this place with a lot of civilians, they have to celestial dragon civilians have to protect. This battle should have been over already, and and they comment how potent the admiral, the celestial dragon. I mean, the celestial that the how potent these captains of the Revolutionary Army really is, and so we also notice we don't see Betty in this one, the fourth captain, the fourth new captain, I should say, that we saw with these three at Lelucia on Lelucia a while back. It's just these three fighting. Who was Lindbergh fighting it? Did we ever see Lindbergh really fighting anyone? Doesn't look like it. I don't see much of him fighting. We see more of what Karasu's doing and Morley in this chapter. And so now we switch over to Sabo when doing his stealth part of the mission. Well, they're kind of like, so the other guys are like doing a distraction, and Sabo here is inside the main castle looking to get Kuma and what's his name? The crow guy is talking to him and like, where's your progress? Have you got the keys to those for the collars? Uh, and then he talks to Lindbergh. Hold on here. Okay, this must have been where they saw where Kuma is. Yeah, so he finds Kuma and Sabo reports it to Lindbergh. And we see here too that Lindbergh is with not Lindbergh. Charles is with his dad, the other one with the beard. I know I saw his name. Hold on. So Charles and Roswald, these two idiots are they're looking around for Shirahoshi still, of all things. You see him there. Sabo also points out because Sabo must have saw that incident with Shirahoshi a moment ago, and he says to Lindbergh, "Those two are in here with Kuma looking for Shirahoshi. They haven't given up." Yeah, they must be looking to get revenge, he says. So they're looking around for Shirahoshi. And this is we see probably the most interesting part of this flashback. Uh it looks like because we see Bonnie was here at the Reverie, and it looks like she got Shirahoshi to help her somehow. Because you see this little panel here where Shirahoshi looks like she's holding Bonnie, and Bonnie must have said, "Wait a minute, is that or is that Wait a minute, who's talking to Shirahoshi there? I'm a little confused with some of these panels. So we see someone saying, "I won't let them." I thought this was Bonnie because there's a Bonnie shows up in a panel here. No, that must be no, that must have been Sabo. So Sabo's like, I won't forgive them for using Kuma-sama like a slave like this. Uh, and then we won't let he says to Morley, oh, that's right. So Morley and so Sabo's preparing now to take out Charles and Roswald or get him away from Kuma. And so he tells Morley to get everything ready. And we see this while they're doing it, it's over this panel of Shirahoshi talking to someone. And I assumed that was Bonnie at first. I'm very confused by what that is. Then we briefly cut to Bonnie right next to that, and she's running around in the castle too, probably to try and get Kuma freed. And that's where that ends off. So now we're near the last bits of the chapter, though. So yeah, what's going on there? I can't wait to see what other people say about this. These kind of panels like this. I'm terrible sometimes when they overlap dialogue with other characters doing something. I thought maybe for a second here Sab was talking to Shirahoshi, but she just talking with Rebecca or someone maybe still. She's smiling happily, so she must be having a conversation with somebody else. I thought for a second this was like her working with Bonnie to do something. I'm probably way off on that. Okay, we'll figure that out later. So now we get to the last two scenes of the chapter, uh, where Viola is by some stairs and Lucci's there, and it looks like he's watching over her because she's by herself or something, and she tells him she wants him to go away and she wants to rather have Vice Garp with her, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, you don't need Garp. I'll protect you." And she calls him out on this by saying, "Oh, like you protected Shirahoshi." Wait a minute, wait, you didn't do your job. And she says to Lucci, like, you know that Charlos fellow, the creep, is gonna go after her again. So this last scene here looks like is Cobra's going to have an audience with the girls say, and who's that? It's probably what's his one bodyguard's name? Was it Pell? He's got two bodyguards with him. Is that his bodyguard? Oh yeah, they are. So yeah, I don't know who I forget his bodyguards' names. I think one of them was Pell. Is that his name? Chill that up a second too. Yeah, Pell is there, and I forget who the other one is. Oh, what's his face? I can picture him. So Pell and the other bodyguard are there with taking Cobra to the audience, have an audience with the Gorosei, and the guards at the door. Oh, Chaka. There's his name. What's he look like again? So Chaka and Pell are there. There he is. Yeah, I knew he had dark hair. Yeah, Chaka and Pell are taking Cobra to the Gorosei, and they're informed they have to stay outside. Um, and Cobra's like, "Oh, that's okay." The other two start objecting, I should say, and then Cobra's like, "No, this won't take long. Just go find Vivi and keep an eye on her instead." And that's where we end the chapter. Actually, I missed saw that chapter for a second. I thought that was Cobra. They show Cobra in the chair, and I thought for a second that was him in the Gorosei's thing that get cut away after the part with the guards. And those were two. I thought those the Chaka and Pell's body. They don't show the head right there, so that's what made me assume this. I thought those were guards that were inside with the Gorosei, and they were about the one probably about to knife him or whatever happened to him. And that's where we end, though. We don't see the last bit leading up to where, yet, anyways, where Sabo ends up standing over Cobra's body after he's been assassinated. So, whew, what a chapter! What a chapter! So, yeah, we got to finally see a lot about what happened at Reverie, and that was over a month ago now. So I wonder just how long it's been. So I wonder if that was like I'm trying to think about moment for the timeline with Wano. Was I wonder if that was before this happened right before while Luffy and the others were still doing the final touches on their assault on Onigashima. That's what I'm assuming here. And it's great to see the other CP9 agents still alive, that they're there. And also, I forgot to mention, they're all dressed in white. So it's pretty obvious they've all been, all the 9 agents, with the exception of like Nero. And we don't see Nero or Spondum. I don't remember how Nero's fight ended with Frankie. I have to review that one. But all these main ones, except Spondum and Nero, have all been elevated to CP0 status. Uh, yeah, Funk freed. Spandam's sword is probably still with Spandam too. So, yeah, great chapter. Also, like I said before, too, Betty was nowhere to be seen in this chapter. I don't know if she was there, if she went up there with them. I'll have to check that later. So, yeah, good chapter. So now I'm just wondering too what happened with what the next plan here is now too with Dragon, where they try to what they're gonna do next and what they'll so many questions. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it off there. So yes, we got to see a little bit what Sabo did there, what the others can do. It was cool to see how morally one of the captains was holding his own against Green Bull after we saw how tough he was against the other the red scabbards and what's his name? Shoot, I can't think. Momonosuke. We obviously Shanks came in too, but we knew Shanks could probably hold his own against Green Bull. But it was neat to see someone else of a high status of another like organization do well too. I imagine his fruit power made a big difference, and his size. He's a giant. So and I'm surprised the other CP90 agents didn't really step in there. Also, obviously, I wonder because Jabra's there, And I wonder if he awakened his wolf fruit, just like Kaku and Luchi has awakened their fruit. It'll be interesting too to see Bluno in action again, because he got taken out really early in the Enies Lobby arc. Luffy really handily kicked his ass using his Gear Second. So it's interesting he's still there too, and I wonder what kind of power upgrades he might have with his fruit, because he had that one where he can create holes like doorways. Basically, he was going into another dimension that let him like teleport around in a way. Now, it wasn't true teleportation. We see that what's Blackbeard's captain's name? The sniper can teleport, but Bluno has something that's very similar. But he opens these doorways instead of just like popping around. Uh, so yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and uh, hopefully I'll be able to keep up with these chapters for a bit, because I might have noticed my other videos were very haphazard, because I was had a job I was doing a trial basis job last month, and I didn't make the cut, so I have some free time for a bit here, so I'll try and keep up with these. I should try and really see if I can get stream things working again. I tried to do a stream of the last two chapters, but the audio just came out terrible. All right, thanks for watching.